thanks. I was thinking we might disagree on a whole lot more, but I agree with almost everything that you're saying. Globalization has driven incredible growth around the world, and I think one of the things that comes across quite strongly is that wealth has not been spread equally, and the market forces that are in place. Consumers want to buy things at lower and lower prices. Companies come together to have a stronger position within the marketplace. Companies get bigger and drive those cost reductions down their supply chains, and sometimes drive those cost reductions all the way down the supply chain to the farmer in Africa or in Latin America or in Papua New Guinea, who's at the bottom of the supply chain and has nowhere else to push those cost reductions. So when market prices fall very low, they have no strength in the marketplace and can often end up having to sell their product at below their cost of production. And that's the intervention where Fairtrade comes in, to try and establish minimum prices and premiums that allow producers to cover their cost of production, to have enough for today, and also an additional Fairtrade premium so they have something to invest in tomorrow. Essentially, Fairtrade is a consumer-driven movement. Fairtrade exists because consumers want to buy products that they know have been produced ethically and that everybody down to the people at the bottom of the supply chain have been fairly paid. Our market research shows that more and more people want to know what's happening all the way through the supply chain. They want to know about the environmental impact. They want to know who's been paid in the supply chain or who hasn't. And the growth of Fairtrade has really happened within this space. We've seen incredible growth in Fairtrade globally, but also very strong growth in Fairtrade within Australia and New Zealand. We started the Fairtrade labelling system here in 2005. In the first year, there were just a couple of $100,000 of Fairtrade sales, retail sales across the two countries. We've just been collecting some figures. It looks like that is now well over a $100 million market. So I mean that's a huge increase in people's support for Fairtrade. Recognition of the Fairtrade label and understanding of the Fairtrade concept has grown from when we first tested it in 2005 at around 2%. When we tested again after Fairtrade Fortnight this year, that had gone over 50. It had gone to 51%. So more than half of New Zealanders recognise the Fairtrade label and have some understanding of what that means. But the Fairtrade concept moves all the way down the supply chain. So it's important that consumers are engaged, and to a large extent consumers drive the market, particularly in its outset. But by consumers telling businesses this is what they want to buy, that's when business begins to engage. And business begins to look at Fairtrade favourably as an easy way of them investing in the sustainability of their supply chains. I went to a conference in the UK last year, and the CEO of Waitrose, which is a supermarket chain in the UK, gave a presentation. His presentation made me laugh because he was showing a lot of pictures of when he went to visit producers in Africa, and it was a huge screen projected behind him, and every one of his pictures had a picture of him in it. It was me meeting the producers, or me here, me there, and he was standing there speaking with 20-foot-high pictures of himself behind him, and and to some extent, I think that shows the sort of culture of the way the supermarkets, particularly in the UK, operate. But a very interesting thing that he said was that for Waitrose, Fairtrade was essential to their business model, because they'd recognised that doing good was good for business. That it's a market-driven concept for them. Waitrose would only engage with Fairtrade because it's good for their business, but then it's also good for the producers, and that's part of the consumer pressure that's made that happen. And then the third step of the supply chain for us are the producers themselves. The sustainability of the production of some of the commodity products that we consume every day. So things like coffee, cocoa, sugar, cotton, real sustainability issues in these supply chains. And we'll hear more from Will about this. But Will said earlier that the average age of the members of his cooperative is 53 years old. And we're seeing this all over the world. The age of farmers are getting older, the trees are getting older, the yields are going down. Businesses are realising that they've got to invest in the sustainabilities of the supply chain, and fair trade, they're recognising, is a way to do that.
Thanks, Dave.